Sure. Oh, it's Lisa.
Hello,
And
everyone.
Jeffrey.
How are you?
We've just been chatting while we were waiting. Oh, and there's Greg. Oh my gosh, Greg is. Hi,
Deborah is here.
I'm not going to be here for long, though.
Deborah.
She's wanting to be here for my moral support.
The moral support.
Yes, of course, of course.
So anyway, well, if what we can do, first, welcome to the first Shays Spiritual Insights. This is the first one, and we plan to do more of them as time goes on. And we plan to do them also possibly alternate between presentations and questions and just, Q&As like we're doing tonight. I have been told we only have 40 minutes. So at 40 minutes, I am going to try to make sure that we're ready to have Zoom shut us off. So anyway, again, welcome. And I'm going to have, if you can just go ahead and if you do, when the time comes, if you have a question, I think down below you should see, I think it says interactions, and you can either clap or you can go and raise your hand. So without further ado, I know all of you know me, but I felt like we should talk about my spiritual philosophy, since this video will probably get posted out on YouTube. As most of you know, my focus is to help people. Actually, my life's mission is to help people connect with the divine, their connection to their higher power, their divine, and the etheric realm. And everyone's already wired for their spiritual connection. Some people's connections are, as we all know, are more active than others. So what we try to do is help facilitate people's connections, because what I've found over time is that people generally have access to the answers for which they're looking for their questions, but they just don't know how to do it. And the object is, of course, is to facilitate this process so that as time goes on, we can, each of us can be more and more able to handle having our own insights, and then rather than asking someone else, such as myself, a question, I become, and others become, a sounding board for that, our own validation, our own spiritual connection. So that's where we're going. Most of you have known for a while. I picked up a lot of what my approach based on the work of June, my mentor from years ago. And she was and a friend of mine, Kay, who I've mentioned, who I always enjoy because she does to me what I do to others. She always asks me questions, and that says, okay, well, what about this and what about that? And the beauty of it is that as she did that, it helped facilitate me to make my own connection, so that I would say, oh yeah, I kind of already knew that. And I think, again, everyone does. So first, Marcy, is she here? I don't see her anywhere. She wanted me to talk about something. So I think without further ado, I'm going to answer Marcy's question, which will probably be a precursor to many of the things that we're going to talk about here. One of the things about the Hawaiian Islands is the Hawaiian Islands have the Earth's creative energy still active. In fact, they have spiritual energy still active. The word aloha, as we've talked about many times, makes reference to the Elohim beings, which are the creative aspect of the divine. And when I use the word divine, I mean whatever aspect of God that someone relates to. Some people, it's depending on one's religious background, it could be the Father, if it's Christian. Could be, for some people, a deified Buddha or Allah, or you name it, Brahman. You can just, the list is endless. But whatever it is for us, is that creative aspect of the divine is what's present in Hawaii. And one of the things that happens as the mountains erupting, that Elohim, or that spiritual energy, is active on the energetic level of the earth as well as spiritually. So although there's a lot going on in the world right now, as we all know, with the influx of energies. And we've been talking about this since I've been in spiritual work, which is back in the 80s. Again, my mentor June was talking about these times we're in right now, how the incoming energies and the new dimension, and they sometimes called it the new age, some people call it the new earth, the fifth dimension, whatever it is that we refer to it as, this incoming period. We have this enormous influx of energies, and it's raising the frequency of the planet along with everyone on it. And what we are to do, ideally, is for each of us to flow with our higher guidance, let go of things as it's time to let go, and make the new connections. Many people are doing that, and you've all heard me talk about the surfboard analogy that I borrowed again from June, which is that as these spiritual energies come in and as we are guided, we are to ride that spiritual guidance like a surfer rides the crest of a wave, to be gently placed upon the shore. Now, if we hold on to the old patterns and to our old way of life, which is kind of a natural thing for the low self, which is like our subconscious, it wants to maintain that old patterns. What happens is that these energies have become disruptive. And again, this is like people holding on to the bottom of the ocean as that wave comes across. So rather than surfing with the wave, they're getting tumbled across the rocks, and it can be a painful experience, which you'll see a lot what's happening out there in the world. So I'm going into this extended explanation because what's happening is these new energies come in, and it's part of raising up our soul group, to raise it up, and so that we can let go of the old patterns and move in and get anchored to this new level. Everyone that's ready for it, that is what's happening. So what's been happening, and they told me about now, it's been about 2 years ago, my guide said that this period of time is going to be, we've been in a period of raising energies anyway for the past few decades, but it's really accelerated. And what is now happening is, as we're being lifted up, they showed me that balloon, that hot air balloon with the little ballast bags. And they said, it's important that we let go of this. So we're going to have all this influx of energy, and it's going to cause our emotional baggage, our past life baggage, however we think of it, to fall away. If we hold on to it, then it can become a rough ride. Disruptive things can happen in our lives. So if we know that, what we can do is better flow with it. So I'm going to answer Marcy's question, what's happening? She says, wow, what is happening with all of this energy coming in? I say, she's just getting zapped. Well, what's happening is twofold for her. One is the Elohim and the earth energies. You've got the creative energies there in Hawaii, just incredible energies coming in anyway, which fosters this evolutionary process that's happening, along with the energies that are coming in with our soul group, and raising everybody up. Now, those who are spiritual workers, which is pretty much everybody on the screen here, part of what we're to do is to lead the way, is to be the connectors to these higher energies, to let things go and to anchor this energies in, because it helps lead the way. And that's what all the light workers are doing on Earth at this time to help this process. So that's your answer, Marcy. I wanted to make sure that I answered it, but that's what you're experiencing. Now, when I was in Hawaii, I'm going to just one more thing before I take questions. Oh my goodness. When I went to Maui, I call it my theta state island, which is the brain waves between 4 and 7 hertz. It's what we do when we're in REM sleep or deep meditation. And I got off the plane and I was immediately hit with this wave of the just intense creative energies. Maui, it just seems to be very intensely present back then. That was in the early 90s. And so I know what Marcy's talking about. It's incredible. And there's other places in the world that are like it. You can find it probably in Tibet, Nepal, Peru. They call them the spiritual navels of the world, all these different vortice places where energy congregates. So wherever that happens, it can be particularly more intense than it is otherwise. So with that, let me take some questions. And as I promised, part of what I will probably do is to ask you some questions, because ultimately I will answer directly if your guides say to do so. If they ask me to mention things to you, or say, ask her about this or ask him about that, it's to help. They're going to hear, and both, trust me, all your guides, they all showed up, and two archangels, Gabriel and Michael, showed up as well earlier to be part of this. So it's wonderful to have all the support for all of us. So who wants to go first? Pat, are you there?
Yes, I am here. I just
Okay, can everyone hear her? No, it's I didn't ask you before, is my voice clear enough? I didn't use the Yeti mic. Okay, good. The Yeti mic would have just been so big and cumbersome. I thought, no, let's use something smaller. So, all right, Pat, so do you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
So a couple of weeks ago, in the middle of the night,
Mm-hmm.
I was awakened and I was told this simple little statement.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like because I feel it's for everybody, of course, when you hear clarification from all of our guides. So I was told humans will be hungry. And that's how it was said to me.
Okay, so first question that your high self wanted me to ask you, and she wanted me to mention that it was from her, was what do you get that it means right now? What does that, what sense do you have from that message? And then I will add some if necessary.
On a very high level, my answer would be humans will be hungry for their spiritual awakening. But
Yes.
there could be more little side shoots to it if you see any.
Well, that's exactly right. I'm glad you brought that up. It was actually threefold. Let me start with the first one. So let's look at it from the worldly point of view. I'll start there. From the worldly point of view, because of the changes happening, and because many people are not awakened yet, and they are not aware of they having all this energy coming in, and what it does, as we've talked about in the past, is it pushes their buttons. It makes them emotional, makes them irrational. So for many people, they don't process well with these new energies, and they find themselves making less than ideal decisions in their lives, and it can literally leave them hungry. You may see there's already more of it in the United States, and there's going to be more of it for a time being during this particular period as we're going through these changes, and they have again accelerated. So that's one, humans will be hungry, and that's true. But it really has a spiritual inference. So the second thing is the spiritual inference. People are seeking to they have questions, but they don't know what the questions are. They have a hunger, but they don't know what it is they're seeking. And what spiritually attuned people what we are to do is be in the moment throughout the day. It's real easy to get caught up in our own mind, and we'll go through the things that we're thinking about. But to be there so that in the moment we can do that little thing. We can say something to someone. We can ask a question. We can, if we're guided to say something, to do that. One of the people who's been a very good role model for me in my own life for that is, again, Kay, who out of the blue will say something. She says, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I'm going to, whatever it is. And I say, wow, that's what it is I wanted to know. I hadn't quite figured it out yet. Or she'd say that to someone else. And it was, what a gift. And that's what we are to do. So they hunger. And of course, if they ask us directly, be there for them help themselves. That's what we are to do. That old Lao Tzu or Lao Tse, depending on how you know him, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. And that's what spiritual workers are to do, is to teach people how to fish. So, and there's a third aspect for you now. And I hope I'm not going too long, because I know we have others with questions. It has to do with you and your spiritual, I've been kind of using this word a lot lately. Maybe it's kind of what's happening in the soul group, but morphology, that that process of growth and that natural evolution to where we start with one place and that naturally leapfrogs us to the next thing in our life and the next. And we, as we cross each horizon, we see the next thing. You are in the process of now of wrapping up an older phase in some areas of your life. And this is one of the things that you're to have to reflect on and just be open to as you're moving into a new one. And I don't know what that means, but I think it could affect your physical life, as in perhaps where you're living. I don't know that you have a move in the works, but it looks like it's time. The universe and your higher guidance are moving you on. And why I mention that is because you are somewhat of the part of your focus is to be the center of influx for information. I always jokingly call you the 411. You always seem to know what's happening. And that is evolving as well. And that's why you've been given this message, but it also refers to you introspectively to have, there's a inner hunger for you for your next step that you're in the process of. I say you've been in the process for a little while, but you're moving into it. And I don't know what it means beyond that because they're keeping me from knowing it. They're keeping that information veiled because it's something you are to discover. So I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It was excellent.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. And there's more for you. And it's going to start coming in. I think our conversation, you know how what happens when we start talking like this, any spiritual conversation, is that we're all attuning. So energy now, as we're talking, each of you, as I can see it, you're all making connections. Some of it you know about, some of it you don't. And of course, some of it comes, they use us individually. And so it's kind of a back and forth where we all benefit from it. We're all learners, doers, and teachers. So in any conversation, I always feel like sometimes I'm able to share something that is a benefit to others, but I also certainly receive a lot from others. You know, it's like doing sessions. When we're doing sessions on someone else, they being our higher guidance, is doing a session on us. So, all right. If I've answered your question, I'd like to see who would like to ask the next question. Anyone? You can go Franny, we've got Dan, Greg, and Lisa. Okay, Dan, I'm going to push the button for you to unmute and see what happens here.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. It seems, I don't know if this is a question or just more of what your take is on it.
Can you get a little closer to your audio source? Yeah, there we go.
Okay. What's been happening here lately, when I go to town, it just seems like there's a more separation between my reality and the reality that exists in the world. Because I'm so used to my reality here where I'm at. And then I go to town and it's like, but I mean, when all this stuff started, it wasn't that big of a gap, but now there's like a huge gap of how I feel when I go to town. So I guess I don't know how to form that into a question other than what would be your take on that?
Well, I've been aware of that, and part of it's really twofold. So part of it, let's talk about what we mentioned in the beginning, was this is accelerated. And what's happening is those on the spiritual path who are following it, they're floating along up higher and higher, which you are doing. You also are in the middle and have been. I wrote a post some time ago, and it was based on a lot of June's work, some of her thesis for her probably her doctoral work, but anyway, it's called Spirals of Spiritual Growth. And what it has to do with, we're not just in a particular turn of growth. We have many different, let's say, tracks of awareness and learning and spiritual awareness that are happening within us. Each of us has that. You have that going on. and you have some that are evolving. And what is happening with you is some of the older ones that are more earthly, that grounded you to earth, and others that operate at that level, those are falling away a bit. And so you have that. So there's a little disconnect. At the same time, you're raising up, and then others that are out there in the world, and there's a lot of them, many are flowing with it, and that's wonderful, but many are in fear right now. And that puts a wall between you two. So that's what you're experiencing a bit of. And your high self just said that you are to continue following your guidance, just to keep flowing with it. It will reintegrate again later. It as things move out and smooth out. And there's this idea in both Buddhism and in Hinduism. I think there's probably others as well. And it's called, because we're all one. I'm going to digress here just a moment. In Hindu, there's a net of Indras, and Indras are gods, small g gods, pantheon. And there's in this net, you've got a crystal, a gem, and the gem is at the corner of every, I guess you'd say, of this thread, this fabric. And each crystal, each gem reflects all the others, so that we are all interconnected, and we're all this information is flowing. So because we're interconnected within our little soul group, within our soul group, and then within the smaller soul groups that exist, and there's just many, many of them, as they're rising, the energies flow just like water in between. So there's never too much of this. So as one rises, it brings the others with them, but they may be lagging behind. And that's part of what's happening in the world right now. And that's what's happening with you. So as you're doing this in your interaction, it will even out a bit more as time goes on. But that's where things are. And again, your own processes that are happening with your own spiritual life. And there's some significant ones. And you're in a place right now where that's able to happen. And that's a good thing, because as you're moving out in the world, as you two start doing more like your bowl work and those kinds of things, that's going to integrate you more too. And it'll help to speed up this process for you. But that's what you're running into. And be not dismayed. It's okay. Be there for others as you can. And I know you will. You always do. But understand, sometimes all you can do is explain it the best way you can, or interact the best way you can. And sometimes all we can be is just that channel of light. So as we are the channel of the conduit of the light goes out, the light does the work. And wonderful things can happen. And they do happen more than you know around you. I'm going to say that. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, it all seems to relate to that. It answered my question. Thank you.
Well, and if there's more, we can talk again later. I'm trying to work on brevity here, because we have a 40-minute time frame with Zoom, and I've been told that it's not always friendly. When it cuts you off, it just says goodbye. So I want to make sure we get everyone in. So if there's more, we can always follow up. And I plan on doing more of these, as I mentioned. We'll just let us know what you want, and we'll try to make this reflect what people want and need.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeff.
You're welcome. Blessings to you.
Blessing.
All right. Franny or Lisa or Greg?
Sure, I'll ask a.
Sure. Oh, you just lost you. You just remuted.
I had a couple situations in the last couple weeks where, they were upsetting, and they felt like they were kind of inconsistent with the flow of my life. So one was that my car broke down, and I had to have it towed from Whitefish back to Eureka. And it actually turned out I was able to spend the night with a friend, and I could get rides to work. So it actually turned out to be a lot better than it could have been. Like, I didn't break down where there wasn't cell service at night or that kind of thing. It was night, but I spent the night with my friends. So, and the other thing is, I was just in a fender bender this week where I saw another woman coming at me, and I stopped my car, and she ran right into me. And so it was upsetting. It was kind of jarring. And I found myself being angry afterwards. And, you know, she was in my lane and I thought she had time to stop, and she was talking on her cell phone, and she still kept talking as she plowed into me. She was still on the phone. And I just thought, oh my gosh, what the heck? And I just had a small window of time to get home and change my clothes and go back to work. And we exchanged information. We both agreed that we're never home that time of day. So us running into each other was kind of an odd thing. So that was the second thing. I felt like there was kind of a breach in my, I don't know, just my sense of serenity, I guess. And, you know, I found myself being frustrated and angry afterward. And then I also had a client that got real agitated this week while I was on the phone. And she had wanted me to make the phone call for her. But while I was on the call, she was speaking over the woman, and she was getting frustrated because the woman didn't have the information, couldn't give her the information she wanted or the help she wanted. And she tried to give me paperwork, and I was like, no, wait. And then when I got off the phone, she continued to be agitated and left in that kind of state. And I got a message back that she won't be back.
Yes.
And it's somebody that I've worked with for a long time. So I'm sad about that. And I feel like I want to reach out and just say, hey, I'm really sorry. And how can we reconnect? How can we reconnect and do whatever repair work is needed? And another part of me, I've been thinking about how it would be really good to just work with people that really want to be in my services, and that are really, anyway, people that I can truly help, I guess, that want to be there and that I can help. And I'd been reflecting on my schedule. And at one point I did ask that, I sent out that prayer, only send me people that will match my skill set and that I can be effective with. So I don't know, I guess I'll just pause there and say, what can you comment on some of that? And is there a breach in my energy field? Is this my stuff coming up to be cleared?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
What
it.
can you say about
I was
that?
just going to tell you that what you've got is you're going through another, and you go through these quite often. For those who are ready, they're really things, I'm going to say, they're really they being your higher guidance, your guides, the divine. And they're pushing us right to the envelope, and that's it's a pilot term. The envelope is when you're pushing the edge of what the plane can do as far as speed, and the envelope of speed. So you've got all this stuff, these energies are coming in, you've got being raised up. At the same time, you've got some old baggage. It's a breadth of it. That what's happening is I'm seeing what I'm being shown is the energy's coming in, it's scattering in a discordant manner, and that's what's causing the disruption, what the car, the people, and that sort of thing. It will pass. You're going to just be aware of it. It's coming up because you're moving into another phase. This is to be clear, and then it's going to help you move into some of the things that you talked about when you talked about looking at having new clients. What your high self said, and your guides also concur, is that they want you to let this pass, let it be aware of it so that you can let go of it. In fact, it's already happening. Just our talking about it here is making it happen. Some of it, remember we've talked about, we've all heard me talk about it, Johari's windows. Windows 3 and 4, the things that we don't know about ourselves that others do, and the things that neither we nor others know about. This is in window 3 and 4 for you right now. There's some in window 2. You can see bits of it and you know it and you're aware of it and you can see it and you say, okay, I'm aware of that. The stuff we don't know is what causes oftentimes the disruptions, stuff breaking like a car, accidents, disruptive relationships that otherwise would be just fine and dandy. So my answer for what I got was, you were talking about the one client, they being, and I must have that your high self specifically and your guides want you to wait until, let some of this energy pass. It's like a wave. Let the wave pass, and then you might be able to connect with her and she'll be ready to hear you if you wish to do that. And let yourself be guided. Don't do it if you don't feel you should. But this stuff is clearing. It's being let go of. And you're moving into this next level of, I'm going to call it light. I'm running out of, okay. Can everybody see me? I had a note come up from Zoom. Zoom was Zooming me. So sorry for the disruption there. I'm used to being on your side of the screen. So just so you know, I'm used to being the one here. I'm going to ask the questions and then and someone else answer. So to answer your question, that's what's happening. And it's really important that you let yourself, as always, every time we've talked in the past when these bigger, this isn't a super big one, but this is a significant phase of this stuff going because you're ready for it. Some of it's processing through your energy field. A lot of it's just falling away or dissolving, however you think of it. Some of it, because aspects of our being hold on to it, it's still being released, but it's being processed through your energy field. Again, some of it is in that window too. You know about it, you can sense it, you kind of have an intuition about it, but you have a bunch of it, 3 and 4 that are not, that you're not aware of. But our talking about it here is allowing it to kind of just go. So if you get some more bumps in the road, just recenter, do the grounding exercise we talk about, and you can do your own as well. That will really facilitate things clearing. If you catch yourself in the moment noticing it, it makes a huge difference. It does for everyone, but especially for you because of your connections and the intensity of the energies coming in. Because the higher the energy coming in, the more, if we have a block, it can really, I see it scattering and then causing problems, like a car, you hit a rock and it breaks a glass or something like that. It's that kind of a thing is what causes it rather than flowing smoothly. But it's not to be concerned about, just for you to be aware of the process, which I'm sensing you already knew about to some degree. So that's what's happening. Any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And your high self wants you, I don't know how much time you've had, but just to connect with her. And she's wants you to work with your child self a little bit. Your child self, that will be a benefit for you to, I don't know how much of that you've been doing. I know you routinely work on things, but specifically work with your child self. She has some things to tell you. Okay, she won't tell me. She wants to tell you. So, all right.
Okay. Great. Thank you,
Anything
Jeff.
else? All right. Well, you have a wonderful evening, and let's see if either Lisa or Greg have anything. Are you still there, Greg? Okay. I have a still picture of you. I see. That's why you're able to hold your head so still. You've actually got a still image. Oh, well, good for you. I was really impressed with your ability to hold position there.
I have probably kind of a mundane question, but
certainly
I'll make it quick. In the last several weeks, I've noticed the quality of my dreams have changed significantly. They're really vivid locations and people and events, and there's more coherency in them. They almost always have people who died 40 or 50 years ago in them, and that's fine. I'm not alarmed by it or anything. But I'm left with the sense that there's something that there's some significance there, meaning that's being shared with me, but I don't know how to find it. I don't seem to know how to find it.
Well, can I answer your question right now? You are finding it?
Okay.
And this ties to what we talked about, I think the last time, your high self's reminding me of it. Remember we talked about, and this is happening with so many people, especially people that are on, I call the committed spiritual path. I'm hesitant to say, people a lot of times say they're spiritually advanced. Anyone on the spiritual path in my book is advanced. We're doing what we're to do. And what's happening is you're wiring to the extended aspects of your being. And even within this, your being is expanding and the fluidity is much clearer. And what it's allowing you to do, especially in the dreams and meditations, is a lot of these connections that as what's happening with so many, are clearing away. They're connecting to be released. So you're having this lucidity of your dreams because of that. You're connecting, you're growing and expanding as you are supposed to at this time. So that's what's happening on that level. And
okay, that part makes sense, because it used to be that some of these people I'd be really disturbed after having a dreaming. Now it's just like, okay.
Yeah, and you're ready for it, and they need to do it too for their own growth. You know,
Okay.
whenever this happens, it's not a one-way street. You know, I'm supposed to mention this. Anytime we have someone in our dream, doesn't matter who it is, we are literally interacting with an aspect of their being. And in some way, obviously it benefits both, but things happen on both ends.
Mhm.
So, and they oftentimes will come into our dreams to serve as a teacher. Sometimes they come there for their own purposes, as well as our mutual purposes of where we're clearing something or connecting or growing or saying goodbye for now. Whatever it is, that's what's happening. And you're moving into another phase of your growth too. I think we talked about that last time. You're moving into it. And I'm going to say you're doing it in your way. And I can relate to this. You're moving it gently. You're moving gently. I won't say cautiously, but you're moving gently into it. You know, you put your toe into the water, and then you can put 2 toes into the water, and then the foot into the water, and then okay, I'm ready to move on to this next thing. You always want to be sure that is in the entirety of your being, you're ready to go emotionally, spiritually, mentally, whatever, so that when things happen, you're ready for them at many levels of your being.
That sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Well, thank you for having that picture there. Now that I know it's a still picture, I won't wonder how you're holding your head so still. So, Lisa, do you have any questions or any comments? Anything you'd like to share?
I had something, can't go into a lot of detail about it. I had heard, I think I'd sent you an email that there was going to be a reset for mass consciousness on this planet.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Let me get closer.
Yeah, that would be, there we go. It was just a little weak up for me.
So, I had heard that there's going to be a reset in mass consciousness on the whole planet. And so I woke up the following morning with kind of a knowingness of, so I kind of see the mass consciousness as kind of like a giant cloud.
That's how I often see it. Yes.
Like we have the eye cloud and everything goes to the eye cloud. That's kind of how mass consciousness, all the experiences, emotions, all of that. And so I was just seeing that, and I was seeing that that there's a good chance that that's either going to get readjusted or expanded or even maybe cleared. So I don't know if you can talk about that at all.
Sure, and that ties into what I was mentioning before, is that we've really accelerated in the past, I say 18 months, but it's really accelerated even more so in the last 2 or 3 months. And I'm seeing it as an evolutionary, whether you look at that as a reset, but I'm really careful not to use the word, people say quantum leaps and quantum shifts, and I think it gets overused, but let's call this a significant shift. It's, you know how when we have growth over here and all this different work that's happening, all the different facets of within our soul group and within the earth and within individuals, and then collectively with individuals, what's happening is it's ready to make like the dam burst kind of a thing, but in a good way, and move on. Things going to fall away. That usually corresponds with with events in the world, in societies. So you can, it can go positively. And what I'm seeing on the material level or in the 3D world, looks like there's 3 different paths that I'm seeing specifically, 2 of which are more likely. And it hasn't been decided yet, or people haven't collectively, individually, as each person makes an individual choice, that feeds into the whole collective, and that kind of feeds where the herd goes, so to speak, and which way they're going to go. But we're hoping that it goes toward the lighter side rather than holding on to the older patterns. But yes, we are moving into, if you want to call it a reset, that's a good name, but it's a shift in an evolutionary upwards, where all of a sudden, boom, we've got enough connections, enough light, everyone's more anchored here now, and then people start moving, operating more, interacting with the higher energies. And as that gets more crystallized within each individual, then of course society can evolve, things can happen. So what it's going to look like, I don't know, but That's what I agree with you. That is indeed happening. Any other questions?
No, that's great. Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Well, we're at the 40-minute point, and Zoom said it was going to be forgiving with me for some time. So I guess we have a little bit of time. If you want to ask anything else, if we get cut off, then I know. Please do give me feedback on, you can send it to shaysholistics@shaysholistics.com. And we're trying to use that web address so we can have kind of funnel everything into that. So if you have topics or things you want to talk about that you think would benefit everyone, or things that are on your mind for the next one, we'll certainly do that. So I wanted to get that out before this thing gets shut off. So
John has something he'd like to ask about.
okay,
Just a quick one. It was a dream I had.
go ahead. Speak up a little bit if you could.
Okay. The dream I had was I fell in front of this diesel locomotive and I got run over. And I said, I didn't die. It feels good. That was the end of the dream.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, what is your sense of what the dream means to you?
It was a step.
I'm sorry, what?
It was a step up.
Yeah, what I got from, boy, this is interesting, from your low self as well as your high self, which is kind of an odd combination sometimes, is that the changes in your life that we thought were going to be overwhelming or destructive are actually the very thing that's going to allow you to move on, and that is indeed what's happening. I think you're part of that's ties to what, when Pat asked about her question, that's that dream she had and that message. Things are happening in each of your lives individually, and of course, because you're married, it's happening collectively in your lives. And there's stuff coming up, and they just don't want me to talk about it. It's not for me to know, so I'm going to leave it at that. But yes, and I would just, what I'm getting from your high self is to flow with it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any others? I see Dan and Kathy. Hello, Kathy.
Hi, everybody. I was here late, but I made it.
So is there anything else? If we have some time, I'd like to make use of it. Otherwise, we can end. And if there's any more questions.
Just to comment that
I just lost your mic.
it's okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you were breaking up. Go ahead.
Just you're talking about the accelerated energies coming in, and that they were, there was a lot coming in last year, but even in the last 2 months that it's more, and how you're seeing that is real
Really
helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's really up. Yeah, somehow that's really, I don't know, I wouldn't say comforting, but it's just helping me to place it in perspective, I guess, because I've felt a little bit, just not sure of what's going on out in the cosmos. So, yeah.
It kind of explains things, doesn't it? It kind of explains things for you. Yeah, like, oh, that's why that's happening. And it can happen in spurious ways, especially because, because of that, we talk about Johari's windows, which is a great model, because windows in 3 and 4 are the things we don't know about ourselves. All of a sudden, some odd thing happens in our life. And it can be in our physical life, it could be our job, it could be our interactions. All of a sudden, everything's going gangbusters in something we're doing, and it stops. That's an indicator that we're in the process of another shift. And what's important is that if we know that about ourselves, it opens us up to that which we cannot see. And then that'll it helps bring it into the light so that we can see it. And then we can become aware of it and flow with it. And that's what, again, with your high self really wants you to be aware of. This is like some heavy stuff. And so it's getting cleared, and that just as long as you know about it, it will clear much faster. And so you can move into this next phase. And I'm seeing that. I want to talk about that for the whole. I'm very, very privileged to know all of you, and that every one of you is on the committed spiritual path. And because you're also on an accelerated spiritual path. And I will tell you right now, the universe, The divine in our higher guidance is pushing all of us to move up as fast as we can, anchoring all these new energies as they come in so that we can bring them here and bring, be part of that front way, bringing it in for the rest of society. But what that also means is that we're going to face, things are going to come up in our own life in various ways, maybe sometimes unexpectedly. It's like, why is that happening? Well, it's happening because you're on the accelerated path. And as long as you know that about it yourself, and we can flow with it, things will go better. And as you all know, if you have a question, please, I'm more than happy to be a sounding board. But my main thing for everyone is, and I like others to do that to me, I appreciate it, is to, my higher guidance, my high self, the divine, asked me to help bring in the information that you're probably already aware of. And then our discussing it allows me to become a kind of a sounding board. And it's amazing, then it allows, my job is to help others get their own connection to the information that they have. And when we do that, when it's organic in that spiritual way, then the process goes even faster for us. So, and that's what I try to do for others, and that's what I seek from others when we have interactions. I think it's best to, when people say, what should I do? Well, let's see what's happening in our lives. Let's see what's going on. And then once we talk about it for a while, all of a sudden, oh, I know what to do. And that's, boy, when that happens, that's what Joseph Campbell calls that aha moment. It's one of those aha moments in our lives. And then our spiritual path becomes even more accelerated than it was before. So, any other comments, thoughts, questions before we go?
I just want to say that each one of each individual's questions really resonated and helped me to see and add more clarification to my own path. And I don't think I need to go into detail or anything, but I could take each one of those questions. So I really appreciate all of you and what you asked, even though you may have felt it was totally individual, it was definitely for the whole. Thank you all.
And thank you all too, and thank you, Pat. And I want to echo that. I'm getting the same questions from not just this group, but it's other people that call. I'm getting the same questions everywhere. Everyone's noticing the accelerated energies. Everyone's noticing that stuff is coming up quick. More often, things are coming up that they affecting their lives. Sometimes they're ready to let go of it. Other times they're not. We'll talk about that, whatever. But this is happening, and we're getting anchored to this next, whatever we want to call this next, the new earth, the next dimension. I think of more of as an octave, because it's a little term I borrowed again from June, because I see our beings, it really is like the levels are like octaves of a musical instrument. It really seems to be that way. And as our ability to anchor higher and higher and higher, and then operate from that in the wholeness of our being here, it really, really not only accelerates our own spiritual growth, but we are then become that conduit, that gift for others, which all of you are. You're certainly a gift to me in my life. So I thank you for being here and being a gift to my life, because you've really brought a lot of extra dimensions and insights that I otherwise wouldn't have. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you,
for
Jeff.
putting on your.
You're welcome. Well, blessings to everyone. And don't forget to just go ahead and remember to put the bubble around you before you go interacting, because everybody's auras, believe it or not, just sitting here while we're talking, everybody's kind of expanding out a bit. Not quite as much as meditating, but it's still going. So is there anything else? All right. Well, blessings to everyone. Thank you for being here. Just let me know if there's anything that, any topic that you want, we can talk about. I may alternate. Deborah says I should alternate between maybe doing a presentation with some questions afterwards, and then perhaps doing just a Q&A like we had today. And please share it with your friends. We'll take as many people as we can, and I think in time we'll probably go longer. So Anyway, blessings to everyone. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Good night.
Bye.
See you soon.